Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session, our June session of Tips and Tricks. Today, we are so excited to present to you some of our favorite features from the upcoming 21.2 summer release. We are set to go live on July 19th. With me today, I have our Tips and Tricks team, Carla Simmons, Don Charnan, Fred Foster, and a new member of our team, Karen Cefantes. We have our summer gear on, guys, and we are ready to dive into today's session. But before, since we are using a new tool for the first time moving forward on our sessions, we want to give you, our audience, some quick logistics for today. So, Carla, I'll let you do the honors.
Thank you. All right, so as you all see, we are on a new tool today, and I just wanted to ensure that all of our users were as comfortable as possible using it. So as you see, you have logged in. You're able to ask questions on the right-hand side of your screen, and our presentation is available right in the center. If by chance you're experiencing that this screen is a bit small, you are able to open it up further by either selecting this arrow here or by simply dragging and pulling it open. Just wanted to give that little tidbit before we go ahead and turn it away to our agenda. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Ileana so she can go over our agenda. We have a lot in store for you guys. I can't wait for you to see it.
Yes, we do. Summertime fun. Summertime fun. So today we're going to take you through the second ProcessMAP release of the year. And we're going to introduce you to some new widgets. We're going to take you through some of our favorite enhancements in the key modules, as well as take a dip into App Builder, help you with some tips on preparing your mobile users for an upgrade. And also, we're going to give you a first official look at a brand new shiny module. So I will go ahead and get us started. I'm going to go ahead and get us started on some new widgets. And we are going to go into the system for this, so bear with me as the system catches up with my quick self as I delve into the brand new ProcessMAP Tips and Tricks ProcessMAP. Awesomeness! All right. So the first widget that I'm going to present to you, you may have already taken a peek at if you were here with us on our last tips and tricks. But in case you missed it, we wanted to make sure that all of our incident management users were aware that you now have the ability to view incidents by body groups. So here's our new widget, Incident Count by Body Part. And as you can see, the different body groups will highlight in a brighter color with the incident count. So this widget is available at both a location and also at a top node like I was at previously. So of course your data will roll up and you'll be able to see it at a top level. You do have the ability to export this widget as well, which is super convenient. You have both of these icons at the bottom. Why you might want to export this for a variety of reasons. We know that sometimes metrics like this can be useful if you are having a presentation coming up, or if you also want to include this on an email of some type. So very easy, instead of having to take a screenshot, which we know sometimes can cause the resolution of the image to go down, you'll be able to take a nice, crisp copy of this into a PowerPoint or email presentation. I also wanted to take you through the available filters for this widget. So by clicking the three little dots at the top, you can click Change Filters. And now you're able to filter by your fiscal year, calendar year, your 30 days, 60 days. You even have the ability to set a custom date range. And of course, you have incident type. Now, the reason why having these filters is great is because if I go ahead and click cancel out of here, if I click edit layout, the blue button at the top here, and I go back to my three little dots, my ellipsis, you'll see that you have the ability to copy this widget as well. So this is very powerful because I've actually already done this for you. I have my copy down here, and I've set this to 90 days. So now as soon as I log in, both of these widgets are pulling information, one for 90 days, the other one for calendar year, and I don't have to go searching through my system for this. So having those filters and the ability to copy it over is really a big game changer when it comes to our widgets. So our next widget is for all of the learning management, training management folks that are on the call today. We have made some great changes to the LMS employee profile widget. When you click on the training count, you will be brought over to the My Training. So what's great about that is that with 21.2, you're actually now being navigated based on the filter that you've set in this widget. So right now I'm at calendar, I'm at all training. I'm going to go ahead and go down to my location real quick. So right now I'm from January 2020 to December 2021, so all of my trainings. But if I want to change my filter and I want to set it to all of the trainings that I've ever had, I can click on View All and click the check mark. My training courses change, my count changes, and when I click into that, it's going to bring me over to My Training. And of course, the filter is already set from the widget, so I don't have to go changing any of the filters on this screen. I'm going to go ahead and go back home. And this is the same for all of you that have any direct reportees. You'll see your direct reportee training record on here. And again, you'll be navigated to the training screen, and you won't have to filter through. It'll be based on the date range that you've set from the widget. So very convenient, a lot less clicks. And the last widget that I'll walk you through before I pass it along to Carla is the new industrial hygiene widget. So the new samples collected versus samples analyzed widget is going to show you your count for number of samples collected versus number of samples analyzed based on the sample number, not on the number of agents analyzed. So this widget will show you 1 year of data, as you can see, meaning it will show the count of individual samples collected or analyzed for that month of the year. And if you hover over it, you'll get a breakdown by that familiar color code. Now, you do have some filter options on here as well, so I'll click the ellipsis. Of course, you have your different chart types, but you have your change filter options here. When I click the drop down, you see that I have the ability to see current year and previous year, and I'm also able to separate it out by current year chemical, current year physical, and the same for previous years. So, once again, this is great because we now, drum roll, we now have the copy widget feature available for the majority of our IH widgets. So as of 21.2, all of our IH customers have the ability to do what I've already done here, which is copy over this widget. And I made this one on the bottom here chemical for current year. So I can go ahead and separate this out. And once again, this data starts pulling as soon as you sign in because you have it on your home page. So you don't have to go to a report and be pulling it. You already have that information at your fingertips. And by the way, this widget is available at location and at a top level as well. And I know I am not the only one that wants to show off some widgets today, so I'm going to go ahead and send it back over to Carla because she's going to showcase her favorites too.
The PMG team really worked hard to bring that big idea to a big reality. So this also reminds me, I wanted to ask our listeners to engage your customer success managers with your ideas. We want to hear from you. If you have a big idea and you want to get buy-in from our listeners, let your customer success managers know. We would love to host you in an upcoming tips and tricks or an EHS roundtable for you to share your ideas. Keep in mind, the more buy-in you get, the more likely it is for that big idea to come to life, just like this this body parts widget that we saw today. All right, but we have more. Let's get to it. After the 21.2 release, users will be able to track screening results from COVID-19 wellness screening app right from their landing pages. As you can see on the top left on my screen, by adding this new widget, supervisors will now have a visualization that demonstrates which employees have not been cleared for work versus the number of employees that are on leave, as well as employees who failed the screening. So first, the employees would go in, fill out their assessment, and then the supervisors will easily be able to track this on their landing page. ProcessMAP is also releasing the document management widget in 21.2, and as a supervisor, you'll be able to stay on top of upcoming periodic reviews for documents, as well as any details that's preventing that document from being completely uploaded. I don't know about our listeners, but I know that our document management module, sometimes I like to upload in bulk. So I'll upload a bunch of documents, but I won't go in there and actually put them in their corresponding folders right away. You might be pulled away to a different task. So this way you could come back at a later time and have a good idea of which documents are left pending or which periodic reviews are coming up for that particular document. Okay, next up, I have the asset registry. So I don't know about the callers on tips and tricks, but it's pretty hot down here in sunny South Florida. Our tips and tricks team is been burning up lately with between the humidity from the rain and the scorching hot weather. However, I will tell you that nothing is hotter than the asset registry. Asset risk management, also known as the asset registry, is a multi-modular solution that tracks the overall health of the company's assets. So this solution has been recently adopted by many of our customers in ProcessMAP. So we've decided to take it up a notch by bringing assets to incident management. After the 21.2 release, users will be able to identify if assets have been involved in incidents and even have the ability to select that particular asset from a pick list, as you can see on the screen here. Not only will this open up an opportunity for more data to be tracked and trend on, but it also will provide visibility to problem areas and controls that are in place or putting controls in place to ensure that we're safe, right? But wait, there is more to that. The asset registry has even added a widget. Right? So just from your landing page, like the widgets you've seen before, you're able to actually just look up the widget by going to the asset widget lookup table, looking up the widgets that are pulling from of your app, and actually see what data is pending, whether there's action items from the audit from the incident management module, whether there's findings associated to this asset in the audits module. I did mention that asset risk management is a multi-module solution. So this way, not only does it talk to audits, which it did before, after 21.2, we will be able to now have that module integrated with incident management. You know, our passion here at ProcessMAP is to bring data to your fingertips. The widgets is now going to track everything that is associated to this asset. Before I turn it over, I also wanted to mention that assets don't always have to be machinery. I run into several customers that had that mindset, but computers, printers, even iPads can also be managed as assets. These assets usually have registration tags that track the monitoring and testing of these devices, and these devices can too be tracked in our system by simply adding them to the asset registry list that you already have provided. All right. So next up, we have incident management, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Ileana because I know she's holding on to her chair, waiting to share these with you.
Definitely. Thanks, Carla. So I know a few of my customers have already gotten on that asset registry cruise ship, so I am excited to see how all of our customers use their business cases within that new solution that we have. So hopefully we have no trips or falls on the way to call your customer success manager on the asset registry. So we're going to go from the more recent asset registry to an oldie but goodie, because up next I get to cover incident management. And we really have some awesome ideas that came from the IMS Customer Council that are being brought into reality in 21.2. So very excited to show you all. So first up, we have two new outbound APIs for the vehicle and environmental incident types in incident management. So I know that some of you on our session today are saying, what is an API? What is the big deal about all this? Well, I did kind of anticipate that, so no worries. I do have you taken care of. In the easiest term possible, I'm going to have Carla flip to that next slide. An API is a way for one system to communicate to another system. That's truly the simplest way to explain it. So, for example, the majority of our incident management customers belong within the safety department. And that safety department is a part of a large organization where not every department is leveraging Insight for reporting. So quality might reach out to our customer in safety and say something like, you have so much useful data in ProcessMAP, and I really want to bring some of that data into the BI tool that we use in quality. What can I do? Well, you now know that you can contact your customer success manager to walk you through what the process would be to utilize these APIs. And mind you, we already have APIs available for 2 incident types. So with 21.2, that makes a total of 4 incident types available: injury, illness, near miss, vehicle, and environmental. So for the next 2 IMS features, I'm actually going to go ahead and take you back into the system. It's actually stored here, but awesome, thank you. So first things first, let's start with getting to our metrics screen. So I'm going to go ahead over to modules. I'll head into incident management, and I'll click on my metrics screen. By the way, this is permission-based. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with our injury, illness, incident metrics for corporate. And then I can scroll all the way to the bottom here, which is where my new near-miss incident rate is located. So this is available to you not only under your injury, illness, corporate metrics, but also under country metrics as well. You would once again click and scroll all the way to the bottom to see your near-miss incident rate right on your metrics screen. So this is such an important leading indicator, and we are very excited to provide this to you. So I also want to make sure that you're aware that you, as of 21.2, this metric will be available in Insight. But for our Report Central fans, I wanted to take a quick detour to Report Central, Report Templates, and bring you down to Incident Metrics under work related so that you could see that all of these reports, your safety metrics reports, do have this KPI available to you so that you can run reports. So enough with all of this permission-based features because I have to make sure that we cater to our end users as well. So for our last IMS enhancement, I'm going to take you back to the incident management module. And I'm going to go ahead and just click on Manage Incident Reports just so that I can select an incident and come into an incident summary page. So hopefully the first thing that you notice here is that we have this new fancy navigation pane at the top. I call it a navigation pane, but I'm sure that PMD would probably not be happy with me for calling it a navigation pane because that is not quite the only thing that this does. You do get this blue and the green check mark as you complete each section. Not only that, but also when you hover over each of these different sections, you get to see the different sections within here that are completed or incomplete. So this gives you a huge, great snapshot without having to scroll through and navigating to each one of these sections. Because we all know that the further you go in your journey, the longer this page becomes, right? And then you have to start scrolling. So this is a great way to just hover over and get a good view of what's going on in that section. But that's not where this stops, and this is why I call it a navigation pane, because you can click on it, and it'll bring you right to where you clicked on. I have a few customers that when I show them this on the call, that was their favorite part. So they love the fact that it would navigate them over, and also that they were able to get a snapshot at the top of where they were within this section. So this was a huge win for many of my customers that I showed this to. And a big thank you to our Incident Management Council for all of their ideas and their time spent, as well as our developers who continue to listen to our customers and have worked so hard to deliver this. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to the king of App Builder himself, Fred. I sense your excitement for App Builder 21.2.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go over some of the new features that we have coming in 21.2 with App Builder. These are the items that are coming. We have a new data import feature, which I'm going to demo to you in a couple of minutes. We have a new outbound API. We've added multilingual support for all languages as well as for custom data sources. We have an enhanced card view for the layout of the data screen. I will show you that in a moment. We've added some new formulas to go with actions. We've included a date selection and data source filters. We added an active column for exporting data from custom data sources. We have new sortabilities with the data sources, and a really great one for those of you that use mobile, which is the ability to open up a notification in your email and mobile, and it will go right into the app on your mobile device. So if we go to the next slide, the first one is the API. As Ileana mentioned, we have APIs already in our incident management module and adding a couple more incident types with the API. Well, we've also added it into App Builder, and this will basically allow the export of data from the data screen. So it's an additional way to export data, not just through an Excel download, but actually through an API. If it is something that you are interested in, just contact your CSM. We've added multilingual support for 5 languages. It's supported in our mobile devices on Android and iOS, and it will also work with the data sources too. Next slide. I mentioned that we added formulas into action conditions. And these formulas work basically with numbers. So they will work on fields that use dates, that use time, or use just numbers and counting. In this example, you can see that by putting in an option that would make an item less than the due date, we can toggle the toggle to the yes position that it's a penalty. So this is great for items that have dates in it, possibly for overdue items, that type of thing. And then you can also, for overdue items, based notifications on that too. So if we want to go to the next slide. We added some enhancements to the data sources, one of which is to be able to put in the data type. So that in this case, the completion date example here is a date string. And that transfers over when you are building apps and using the controls with custom data sources in the app. So it allows for a little more flexibility. Next slide. This is a great one. This is where if you are using a mobile device and you click on the link in the email on your mobile device, it will go right into the mobile app. Very similar to clicking links on the web that would take you into the web application. This now works with mobile. So I think for anyone that's using mobile, they can use it with their email as well as getting right into the app. And then finally, on the last slide, we've introduced a data import, which I'll show you in a second. And just a couple of things about the way the data import will work. It will import data into a selected app from an Excel file. This is a permission-based item, so I'll show you how you set that up in an app builder role. You're only able to input data for one location and one app at a time, and there is a limitation on the amount of data that can be imported from one single spreadsheet, and that's 10,000 data elements. So basically, if you multiply rows by columns, the amount of data that you have, that will give you the total. If you have more than 10,000, it's not a problem. You're just going to have to break it up into two different spreadsheets and do two imports, because the data import is limited to 10,000. When the import's complete, you'll get a notification. And one thing to keep in mind with doing data imports, some of the conditions and actions that you might have going on in your form are basically not going to be recognized. It's just going to import the data. So if there were certain fields that we're going to populate based on data in another field, that's not going to happen. We're not going to be looking at that, but it's just really putting all of the data in. If there are any problems with the import, the record will be grieved out, and the other records without an issue will go ahead and get imported. And then finally, you will be able to see statistics on that. And so right here, I mentioned before that there is a new permission in an app builder role, and that's import. So for someone to be able to do the import, they would have to have this checked in their role. So now let's go over into App Builder. And for today's demo, I'm going to be using the COVID vaccine tracker. I think I had shown this in previous tips and tricks, but this is a fairly new app that we have that will track people as they get their vaccines. And just to give you a quick look at the data that's in the app, it's going to have an employee name, an employee ID. You have departments and locations. Then it goes into records of vaccination, whether you had 1 dose, 2 doses, or you're fully dosed. You can enter in the dates that you had your vaccines. It has the ability to do a upload of your vaccine card as well as add notes. So that's basically what this app is doing. So now to start talking about doing a data import, the first thing that you really want to do is create a view that you're going to use as a template. Now I have a view already set up to do my import with, but if you haven't set one up already, all you do to create a new view, you can go in and add a new view right here, and then you can just start selecting the data elements that you want into the view. You can say whether you want it as your default view. Do not use card style in this case. I'll show you a little bit about card style in a moment, and whether you want to share it with all users or not. So you're going to create the view that you're going to use to create a template. So I have the view already done, and what I'm going to do like here, I'm just going to do an export. So what this did was exported an Excel sheet, which really just has one data element on it right now. And then you can use this sheet as sort of a template where you're going to enter your data in for upload. You would go ahead and delete the first record on here, otherwise it will import that record again. Now, for the sake of today's tips and tricks, I've already prepared an Excel sheet. You can see it's the information that we'll be putting into the form. We have the vaccination records, we have the dates, any notes, the users, that information. So I have the spreadsheet already prepared. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the main page here. And for doing the import, you would click on the ellipsis, and you will see an option here for import data. So I'm going to click import data. And now I am on the main import screen. It's going to tell me the location that I'm in. As I mentioned earlier, when you're doing the data imports, it just does it for one app and one location. The language selected, I am using English. This is the name of the form, the tips and tricks vaccine tracker. Then we have an option here for uploading the file, and then also a couple of toggles here. One is if the Excel sheet you are using has the first row as labels for the fields, which I do. And then the second toggle on here is if you want notifications to trigger on the records. And basically what that means is once you've got this data into imported into the app, if any notifications would normally fire if someone had just entered that data into the app manually, if notifications would fire, then after doing this import, if we set this toggle over to yes, then notifications would fire based on the data in the form. Now what we need to do is we need to get our file. So you can either do select and it'll bring up a Finder window, or you can just drag the Excel sheet in. Okay, so if there were any issues with the naming of the form, sometimes special characters can throw an error. It would let you know right now, but this was accepted. So I can go on to my next step. So I've got the the spreadsheet in. The next thing that we're going to do is data mapping. So I'm going to click Next. And this is the data mapping screen. And what you'll see on here is, on this side of the screen, these are the Excel fields that were on the spreadsheet. And then over here in the center, this is where we're mapping it to a field in the form. So if you'll notice, we've got date record created. I have a field in the form for date record created. Anytime you're putting in a date, or if there's a date on your form, you have to go and say what the format of the date is. And these are the different formats that are allowed for dates. I know in this spreadsheet that my format is month, day, and then year. Next field is the employee name. Then we have employee ID. And then we have department and location. Now you'll notice these are kind of going down in order. And that was by design. When I created that import template, or the view for that, I did it in the order that the fields were in the form. And that just makes doing the mapping much easier. Now you notice when I hit or got to vaccine status, it's asking for a delimiter here. Depending on the field that you are using in the form and the data in it, some of the data that you might be importing might be in a field that is a multi-select. So you might be doing two different pieces of data in that same cell in the spreadsheet. So you have to enter the delimiter. The delimiter is a character that separates the two data elements. Now, even though in this case I really just have one piece of data in that field, it is a field that could handle multiple, so I do have to put a delimiter in. So I'm just going to put a comma, which is the most common delimiter. Okay, so we're on the date of the first two doses, and again, you have to select your date format. Date fully vaccinated, again, we've got another date. And then notes. Also, you'll notice some checkboxes over here that says unique fields. What the unique field is, it only has to do with the data in the spreadsheet that you're uploading. It doesn't have to do with data that's already in the form. But if I click in unique field, what that is saying is that each of the date the record was created would have to be unique on the spreadsheet. I couldn't have two that had the same date. Same thing here with employee name. If I click in unique field, I couldn't have two different employee names in that same employee name column, and et cetera. And you can set the uniqueness, so to speak, for up to 5 fields. So if you do set it as unique data and it isn't unique, in other words, you've got two people with the same name in the sheet, then they will not upload, and it will give you that on the error log. But once we've done the mapping, we've got the fields done, I'm going to go up here to validate mapping. And right up here, it's going to give me some information. It's telling me that 17 records are going to be created correctly, but I got a problem with one of them. So if it comes up and tells you got a problem with one or more of the fields, you can click right here into the error log. And in here, it's going to tell you what was wrong. So if you look at the error log, it says that Phil Welch is not a valid employee name. And I happen to know the reason for that is because the system does do a check with the user list, and Phil is spelled with 2 L's. So because this is not a real match to Phil's name in the database, this record is not going to import. Now I can go and make the correction on the spreadsheet, and then do the upload of the spreadsheet again. But for sake of time today, We're just going to ignore that one field, but I did want you to be able to see how the error log would display. And you can also hit export to take your error log and put it into a spreadsheet. But I'm really okay with the fact that we're going to have an issue with one of the records. So I'm going to go right here to begin import. And it's going to tell me right on here that it's in process. It will let me know when the import has been completed, and I can go right here and hit close. And I actually heard my email ding with a notice. So if you look, I just got an email in with the details of my import, telling me that we had 17 records that imported without issue. I already knew that we were going to have a problem with the one, which I had ignored. So that was completed. You'll also see on here I hit import history, so it tells you the number of records that were inserted. Now, if I go back to my data screen, if you look on here, we have all of those vaccination records that have been imported into our form. So this import function is a great way to get past history into a form. Maybe you've been using a spreadsheet to enter some data. Now that you have App Builder, you created an app that replicates that spreadsheet, and you can take some of your history and import it in. So that is the way the new import feature works. Now I just want to show you one more feature about the card view. And just going back to our data screen here. This is the list view of the screen. It's coming up here on lists, okay? And you do have option up here to change the view to a card view. So you can toggle back and forth between a card view and the list view. Now, if you want to go into your app, you can also now have your default view, the card view. So I am going over here to List Builder. And here is my default view. Go to Vaccine Tracker. And here you have an option of whether I want my default view to be a card or list view. If I want to change it over to a card view, I just click card and I can. List drill down export. If that is turned on, if you do an export, it will also export details of action items. But anyway, I want to say set this as a card view. I'm going to click Save. And now if I go back into my data view, you'll notice I am in card view. So it's really just changing the default view that I have here. Again, I can always go back and forth to switch that. So those are the new features that are coming in App Builder in 21.2. I think you're all going to be very excited about that. And with that, I'm going to hand this back over to Karen.
Thank you, Fred. I'm super excited for all those new features in App Builder. Well, today I'm going to be covering the upgrades for 21.2 for our Audit Management module. We have two very significant upgrades, and I want to walk you through those changes. Let's cover your first upgrade. With this release, your super users and end users will have the ability to change questions response scores without losing existing findings. This will provide flexibility to retain the findings in case a response is changed from a non-preferred to another. The system will alert the user when a response is changed, and the user will be prompted to select whether they would like to retain the finding or replace it with a new one. A great feature is that you can take advantage of it through your mobile device. Jumping into the second upgrade, admins now have the ability to enable automatic audit closures from your mobile device, as well as from the web. One key feature will be the ability to set customized default responses. Next, we're going to cover the upgrades to our learning management module for a 21.2 release. Additional assignment options. Admins will now have the ability to assign trainings by 2 additional categories, which are by supervisor and by department. As an example, let's say we select supervisor, then the admin will be prompted to select from a pick list where they will be able to select supervisor, employee or employees, and instructor. Which brings me to my next feature I would like to cover. And that is the new enhanced filtering for employee selection pick list. With this enhanced new feature, you will be able to filter your list by employee name, status, and location. Please note, you will still have the ability to see the full list as you did before by just closing the window. But we think this will greatly improve your overall search and filtering experience. Next, I would like to cover some great new features on our catalog, on our course catalog. Creating a new session just got a whole lot easier. We have added the ability to directly assign new sessions from the course catalog screen. You will now see a new Assign Training column with a hyperlink to assign new sessions for the specified course. When you click the link, this will redirect you to the session detail page where the course information will already be pre-populated. Additionally, we have enhanced the session column by allowing you to click on any session and quickly navigate you to the session list, where you can see and track ongoing completed sessions by employees. Similarly, the employee column has been enhanced to allow you to quickly navigate to the training progress summary, where you can see the overall progress of training sessions completed by each employee or by course. Next, we're going to talk about certificates. Today, we have the capability of selecting different languages while using the ProcessMAP platform. However, certificates of completion have always been issued in English. We know that many of you have facilities all over the world, so the ability to award employees with a certificate of completion in their language is very important. That is why we're happy to announce with this release, you will now have the ability to issue certificates of completion in multiple languages. Please note that this change will be automatic and will be driven by the selective language of preference. So if your team is currently using the platform in Spanish, all certificates will be issued in Spanish, and so on.
Karen, this is so awesome. I don't know about you, but I'm excited.
Me too. We're going to be covering the ability to select accept for specific employees while scheduling a session. This is especially useful when a particular employee, for example, a supervisor, does not need to take a training or is exempt from the training. This enhancement will allow for proper reporting, where you can see some examples here in the page. All the reports will say exempt whenever the employee didn't have to take the training. While today we're covering a lot of great new features and enhancements, this is one of my favorites and most important. The session has been reorganized for better usability. The general section looks fairly the same, but our course assigned details section now includes 2 additional fields: certificate of expiry date and total manpower hours. The certificate of expiry date is not a new field, but we have moved it to make it more prominent and more visible to your end users. Now to cover my favorite feature for the LMS module. Our menu now has a link to the training progress summary page, where you are able to see the progress by employee and also by training course. From the home page, we have also created 2 new quick links that will navigate you to this page. To show you what the new menu looks like, the new menu options will feature 2 tabs. The first, the Employee Training Progress Summary, where you're able to see total assignments, assignments in progress, if any are overdue. all filtered by employee. And the second tab is by course training progress summary. This tab will feature course progress summary where you can quickly know how many employees have been assigned to the session, how many have completed it, and if there are any who are overdue. As you can see, this page has hyperlinks that will redirect you to the employee information course details and plans. This new feature will allow you to track and monitor the effectiveness of each course. And last but definitely not least, we have a new score value that is not applicable. Now, when your score is blank, is left in 0, it will usually display 0. But now it will go into NA, which is not applicable. In the past, when the score was left blank, it would have automatically displayed 0 that sometimes will denote an incorrect message. Please note, this change will take effect in list screens, my training widget, the rec reports widget. It will also export into Excel and in BI reports whenever a score is displayed. This brings me to the end of some of the upgrades and enhancements you can expect for the LMS module for this upcoming release. Thank you, everybody. Eliana?
Thanks, Karen. So many of our LMS enhancements on this release are really improving the user experience, and we only delved into some during this session. So a huge shout out to product management for all the hours that were put into those great features for LMS. So moving on to my favorite module, industrial hygiene. Now, I already showed you the new IH widget that I know all of my IH customers are going to add to their homepage, but I do have one more feature that I want to showcase. So once again, I'm taking it back to Report Central because there are already some great IH reports available to you, but now there is one more, the sample approved notification report. So this report allows you to track the list of all users who received the sample approved notification, be that if they received the daily notification or an immediate notification. And I provided a sample of the end report here. But there is something that I want to highlight on our next slide. Now, of course, you have your mandatory features that you choose from, which entity you're choosing in your org structure and the sample plan date ranges. But I thought the optional filters were worth mentioning because these optional filters allow you to filter by the IH log number if you wanted to delve into who received notification for a particular sample, or if you wanted to see which notifications were received for a particular user, you could enter their username or email. So it gives you a little bit more options here. And now the next module that I'm going to dip into is chemical management, but my IH module customers will also benefit from listening to this. On to chemical management. I'm so happy for this next enhancement because I cannot even count how many times I've spoken to one of my customers about this next topic. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get right back into the system one last time. Awesome. So now I'm going to go to Setup, Module Setup, Chemical Management. And I'm going to select my group chemical library. So this screen is so powerful because it's the ultimate repository for all of your chemicals or structures. And as of 21.2, it's going to be even more powerful because you will have new options for columns. So I'm going to go ahead and click Edit. And I'm going to go down to my Select Column section. Now, my cast number, as you can see, is in red, so it is mandatory now, but I wanted to make sure to point it out because it's over on the right-hand side now. This is a new option, though, as well as your synonym and as well as your molecular weight. So if I just go ahead and add these over, I'll just do synonym 1. I'll go ahead and click View Results, so that I can show you what this looks like on the list view screen. And now, as you can see, I've added molecular weight. Synonym 1 is here on these last two columns, and I have my CAS number here in the second column. So you can create more meaningful and valuable list view, and you are able to export this into Excel. And what's even better is that you can click the search here. I know that many of my CIHs that I've worked with refer to the CAS number as the chemical's social security number. And many of them know their CAS numbers for the chemicals that they sample on a frequent basis off the top of their head. So this is very useful because if I know my CAS number, I can quickly put in the number and it will start filtering out my list on this screen. So definitely wanted to make sure that we highlighted this for all of our chemical management customers, but also our IH customers as well, as you all get the group chemical library in your setup. And with that, next up is occupational health. And as usual, Carla always wins the coin toss. One day, my friend, one day I shall present Occ Health.
All right, so I'm glad that I won that coin toss, guys, because we're in for a treat. So for some, summers are full of fun and relaxation, although this may not be the case for some of our injured associates. However, we've made sure to bring plenty of fun to our employee health management users after that 21.2 release. If I have my Occ Health system administrators on the call today, this one is for you. After the 21.2 release, users will be able to configure the healthcare entity at a module level. If you're not an Occ Health user, let me shed some light on just how big this is. Before, the system administrator would have to configure each clinic by location. This makes sense in some businesses if they have specific clinics at specific locations. However, after speaking with many of our occupational health customers, we have come to find that many had the same entities for the entire enterprise. So what does this mean? We're able to now configure the healthcare offices at a module level. All users with scope and permissions to the employee health management module will be able to schedule appointments and view the scheduler for the configured entities. So if you have different doctor's offices, you're able to configure them here at a module level, and the entire enterprise would be able to navigate to these offices. We have also made a small but significant change when adding the independent encounter. After 21.2 release, users will be able to select the healthcare provider when adding an independent encounter to automatically associate that provider to the encounter. Before this wasn't available here, the screen will now or not the screen, but the drop down will now populate below the time in and the time out. And it is a mandatory field, but it will eliminate further work in the long run of having to add that provider in. All right, so I did save the best for last for the Employee Health Management Solution update, and that is the ability to email restrictions. Team, I don't know about you, but this makes me ecstatic. I'm not able to complete my encounter, or I'm now able to complete my encounter. I'm able to add my restrictions, and from the same screen, I can email a summary to the employee supervisor. This means that as soon as my employee gets seen, I can now either print out a form for them to take with them, and I can email it to their supervisor. So now these items aren't getting lost in translation where you're giving the restriction summary to the employee and it's not making it to the supervisor. We can now kill two birds with one stone here and do it from one place. But it gets better. not only are we able to generate these reports, but we're able to pick what sections we want to be included in this email or the report. Now, it's the little things in life to me, and options, they make my day. As if I didn't blow anyone's mind with this, we do have more for the tips and tricks. And next, I actually have a module to debut for you. But before I get into that, I just want to simmer in this for just 1 second. We have options to send out this report. We no longer have that that gap in between giving the employee their restrictions and it getting to their supervisors. I definitely think OctHealth is just heading up, up, up. All right. Ladies and gentlemen of safety, I introduce to you Operational Profile Management. This is our new module that it will be released with the 21.2 upgrade. Operational Profile Management will have the ability to generate tasks based on how questions are answered in a particular protocol. As you can see on the screen, the user would just select from a pre-configured protocol or AKA a filtering set of questions that I'll show you here in the next slide. The questions will be answered yes to no, and depending how these questions are configured or what triggers are set in place, these questions will shoot out the corresponding task. So one use case will be if I answer one of the protocols that you see here on the screen, if one of these questions are yes, those tasks will go directly to the calendar. A good example, a use case for this is when we have an enterprise from an operations level, but I have some facilities that have warehouses and some facilities that don't. This way, on a yearly basis or whichever time basis that you choose, the enterprise can fill out an audit by answering questions either yes or no, or you can enter whichever configuration value you'd like for that. They'd answer yes or no, and if yes is answered to the question, does this facility have warehouses? All of the corresponding warehouse tasks are going to be pushed directly to the calendar. And I can show you in our next slide here how that is visualized. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see your action item list. These are all of the actions that have been generated by the protocol. And on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see your calendar and the corresponding tasks that have been sent out through answering those set of questions. All right. So I'm super excited about this. This is a new way of automating operations. It's really going to open up the floor and allow many of our users to operate differently rather than having to schedule out tasks to all facilities. We can now pinpoint which facilities need certain tasks. All right. Without further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Ileana so she can let us know how to prepare for this new upgrade. However, we put a spin on it this month. We have the mobile edition.
So you got OctHealth and you got to go over the new module. We're going to have to internally discuss what's going on with this coin toss because there's some bias going on over here. Anyways, so in every past tips and tricks where we have showcased an upcoming upgrade, we always give you tips on preparing for the upgrade. And it is very useful. So if you need a refresher, remember that all the tips and tricks recordings are available to you. This time, however, we wanted to do something a bit different and provide some tips for Mobile Pro specifically. So what about before the upgrade? Customers do ask me from time to time, is there anything that can be done prior to an upgrade? Well, encourage your users to log in. Connect to Wi-Fi, preferably not a low-grade Wi-Fi, and log into Mobile Pro. because this should sync your data, but you can check if any of your data is still offline and has yet to sync. You would simply click into a module and navigate to a list view. In this example, all of the data here has already synced, but if you had any line items that were highlighted in yellow, that would indicate that the data has not yet synced. And you can force the sync by simply clicking on that refresh button on the list view screen. So I indicated that here in yellow. And I know some of you are really keen on our slide deck, so we've made sure to include the steps on the slides here. So that's before an upgrade. What about after? So I know you've heard it over and over, clear cache and cookies. But I have to say that it is probably the #1 thing that resolves issues. And if I have John Morrison on the line, he's probably shaking his head yes right now, in desktop and mobile. So this is the modern day turn it off and turn it back on. And we do recommend a little refresh on desktop and mobile after an upgrade. And I did, again, put a few pointers on this slide. The next tip is going to seem a little obvious, but trust me, it does happen that we will get tickets in because various issues are occurring, and the culprit is an old app version on the mobile device. So I will go through a little bit how to identify the version in just a moment. So once the new version is available, when you first access the app, you'll receive a prompt notifying you of an available update. So it will look something like the screenshot right here. You would click the update button and just allow the application to update. You will need to be online in order to update. In the event that you don't receive this pop-up and you are a mobile user, we do provide you step-by-step instructions on the help site, which I've linked here for those of you who save our slides. Please note that once you've updated the app, it can take some time for your modules to load since it's a fresh app. Now, we also have customers that utilize a mobile device manager. Can you just go back for me for one moment? So maybe you download the app off of your organization's app library. So the updates are actually managed by your IT department. And in that case, system administrators can inform their IT department to push the app update to all users. So there is a little bit of a difference here for some of our customers. Next slide. Another post-upgrade tip is to have your access code handy. So when you first log into that fresh app, you may be prompted for your access code once again, so have that handy. And remember, this can be found by clicking the mobile icon on the top right corner of your desktop site. And lastly, this is more of a how-to or a trick than a tip, is we do get asked from time to time how a user can identify which version of the app they are on. And that's very easy. When you first log into the app, the version is found below the blue login button and directly under the forgot username or password links. If you're already logged in, you can check the versioning by clicking on your profile photo from the homepage, and this will open up your settings. At the bottom, you will see the current versioning. And that is all for tips and tricks today. We're going to go ahead and open up for any additional questions.
Well, if you have questions, please put your questions in the chat. You're not able to unmute yourself here in the new tool. I had a few questions that were asked in the chat that I'll go ahead and go over. The first question we had was from Brad from Ryerson, is will the 21.2 release include the new Kappa layout for incident management? That is not going to be included in this release. That has been pushed out to our fall release. We want to make sure that we're not only doing this Kappa redesign just for incident management, that we do it for all the modules so that our end users have the same experience, hence why a little bit more time is required. So we'll be releasing that in our fall release. There was another question from Brad on, is the copy feature available for all widgets that have a date filter? Yes. The copy feature is available for all widgets, I believe, with the exception of the assets management widget. That one does not have the copy feature, but all other widgets do. We had a question from Pete from Stellaris. He wanted to know, can the import template be saved? Currently, that import template cannot be saved. It is dynamic based on the Excel file. So it's going to read whatever columns that you have in that file. That means you don't have to have one consistent template where every user is using it. You can import any file and then map with any header column and then map it however you want. The key there is going to be on the date format that Fred went over, just making sure that that lines up with the date format that's in the Excel file so that it's properly being read prior to it importing. And then the last question we had here was on the limitations on the import for 10,000 cells right now. So currently you can import, well, I guess it's a great clarification. If you have 10 columns and 1,000 rows, that means you've exceeded the import, or just about to exceed the import. It actually looks at the cell count itself. So it's going to look at how many columns you have and how many rows you have. And then based on that, it's only going to allow for you to import that number of cells into the app form. Those were the questions that we had today. Are there any other questions? If so, go ahead and put your questions in the chat and we'll be more than happy to answer them. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any other questions, but if questions do come up, please reach out to your customer success managers. As a reminder, our release is July 19th, so please get in your future release site. Go ahead and test out the features. As you know, everyone has access to that environment that allows for you to go ahead and plan and play with the different features. As you know, some of the features do have settings on it, so you can choose when those different settings can be turned on or turned off based on your application. And I would like to thank the Tips and Tricks crew for another great session. And everybody have a wonderful day.